Let's see. Do I have sound now? This is a thing that's been happening to me that my assistant and I are talking about. She's like, why are your videos cutting out with no sound? I have no idea. No idea. There's no logical reason for why I'm outside and have full service and shit cut out. So we're going to kind of restart the conversation we were just having about AstroWorld. We got some clarity kind of on where people are at in terms of their understanding. So it gives me some clarity on speaking to it. For those of you who are new here, because there's a couple people who are like, who are you? Hi, I'm Shanté. I am a collective conduit. I'm a galactic psychic. It's so funny when I say this shit, because I'm like, if you had told me this are the things I would be saying as my credentials a few years ago, I would have laughed at you. I'm a collective conduit. I'm a galactic psychic. I'm retired from the Galactic Federation. I do a lot of collective work. I recently reconnected with just like one of my soulmates who's an Indigenous medicine woman. So what we've been doing over the last few months collectively has been wild. And I want to talk to you. I help people. What I do professionally is I help people build a safe and empowered relationship with their intuition from a trauma-informed space. My specialties are inner child reconnection, astral travel, and interdimensional work. And I am a lighthouse maintenance person, meaning most of my clientele and who I work on are other people who are other professional energy workers or people who know that they are going to be and feel called to that direction. So that's who I am. Hi, nice to meet you. I want to talk about AstroWorld, and let me prop up my phone because we had to reorganize where we were doing this in order to get sound and service back, so that I can do some stretches while we do so. Let's move my giant rubber tree. Her name's Mary. Hi, Mary. And so we can talk about what's going on. Are we good on sound? Can I get some hearts? If so, because that's been an issue. Oh, good on sound. I haven't had any hearts yet. You guys telling me we're good on sound. For those of you coming up, one of the things I'm going to talk about towards the end of this is that tomorrow night I'm teaching a class. I'm teaching a class on like self-healing mindset, and we're kind of going to pull off of this collective energy that's happening with AstroWorld. So we're going to do some protection stuff. We're going to connect you in how to like process and support yourself in accessing your own light. Oh, that feels good. I'm going to help support you in accessing your own light. So for those of you who don't know about AstroWorld this last weekend, AstroWorld Festival was a festival by Travis Scott. Travis Scott owned the venue in which AstroWorld occurred. And it was a music festival in Houston, Texas, where as of now the current count is, that 9 people have died. And a whole bunch of people injured, cardiac arrest, people like being trampled, people like bleeding out of their mouth and nose, just like some gnarly shit, some scary stuff. A lot of the conversation happening around AstroWorld right now is like that it was a satanic ritual and people were sacrificed to the devil, And then I watched videos from a medic who was at AstroWorld today talking about how it was the crowd's fault and the crowd was irresponsible and the people were so selfish, which is such an interesting perspective, right? And it's so easy to point at the people, which is largely a bunch of kids, right? Like who is at these festivals right now is largely Gen Z, which is still a bunch of kids, right? Me at 23 years old, fucking kid. I hear you, 23. Sorry, I love you. Like, but it's true. Like, your brain is not developing until you're like 25, 26. Okay. So what was happening collectively, and what's been happening collectively for a while, is that collectively, because of the work that we've been doing over 2020, where people are like, no, like, I'm sick of this shit, right? 2020 was all of us collectively going like, oh, the world just ended, and I'm over normal, and like, what's the point anymore, right? Like, what's the point of playing these bullshit games? And what it has done is opened up this potential and possibility with that energy of people being like nothing makes sense anymore and I'm over all of it, is it's opened up this potential for like healing and awakening and connection. And in September at my Reiki retreat, I got to support and facilitate collective Norse, Viking, and indigenous colonizer trauma. I'm currently with my medicine woman, Babe. We are like participating in like the awakening of like Mayan and galactic connection and healing. I have some people close to me who have recently returned from Mexico who are literally sick with spiritual stuff because like they went to Mayan ruins and took selfies, and through all this like connection and awakening, like Mayans and Aztecs are like over white people, like pulling their bullshit. And so what happened at AstroWorld, especially with all of the planets that have gone direct in the last, there's a whole cool story Jesse just brought up. I didn't hear about Viking colonizing as much as European, which Europeans colonized the Vikings. Viking origins, that's one of the first like groups that Christianity colonized, was the Norse Vikings. And heathen was a word that Christians gave Vikings to say that they were like out of alignment with God. And then they took that word on for themselves, as Vikings would, as the OG, to like take a word used against them and be like, this is mine now. And how it roots back to the energy and like rage and anger of like, you're going to take something that's mine, I'm going to take everything from you. Connects into Viking stuff. Viking shit is coming up so hard right now. So hard right now. I have been participating in collective Viking awakening since September, basically. One way, if Viking stuff is coming up for you, and Norse stuff is coming up for you, which as a white person, it's kind of where we can come back to tribal connection, is through Norse and Viking lineage, which we all, if you're white and white European, like it's in there somewhere. One of the ways for you to connect in is to decolonize Christmas and bring back Yule. Decolonize Christmas and bring back Yule. The red and white Santa that you are used to is literally Coca-Cola. That is Coca-Cola marketing. Santa is Turkish. He's black. He was stolen. Christmas tree is a fucking Yule tree. It was stolen. Okay? That's one thing I'm doing, is decolonizing Christmas and bringing back solstice and Yule for my family. And so much of it is exactly the same. Just a lot of our decorations are changing, and a lot of the ritual in which we are participating in is changing. And what's important for you to understand about AstroWorld is there's all this like Satan worship and all this stuff, which is such a like binary, like, juvenile is the word coming up. It's such a binary, juvenile understanding on the like astral landscape that it's like Jesus and God and the devil. Like that is all just like bullshit religious programming, because it is so much more than that, right? And at the base, like, yes, there's like Jesus and Ganesha and Sekhmet and like all of these deities are real. They're ascendant masters. But like there isn't one who's like the one, okay? And like God, goddess, there's God and goddess, and there's source, and there's the universe. Like all of it is all yes, but all it comes down to is light and lack of light. All darkness is lack of light. And guess what? You are light. You are light. If you are struggling to find your own light, this is where shadow work comes in, because your relationship with your own shadow and your own darkness is equal to your relationship with your light. If you are a I'm love and light human being, you're fucked, because that's not the point. It's not the point. It's all of it. Okay? Like I am not a light worker. I'm not a light worker. I'm a gray worker. I'm a worker. I'm a something. Because I'll play in the dark as much as I play in the light, because you have to. You have to. And some people are light workers, and that's great. I'm not one. Okay? I used to be, like, that's kind of like where I think that's where everybody gets started. But like once you get into a level of like grounded and like connected and like all the way out of the matrix, like it doesn't make sense to like be a light worker necessarily anymore. Also, the new trend on TikTok that's like shadow work. The person who hurt you the most and offer them your last dance. A, I don't know what that means. B, that's not shadow work. That's not shadow work. That's just re-traumatizing yourself. Not shadow work. Just re-traumatizing yourself. Just being like, this person who hurt me the most here. I'm going to open up a bubble for you to hurt me again. Not shadow work. We can talk about what would be shadow work in that instance. But that's not shadow work. So what's important for you to know about AstroWorld. Multiple people died. All this crazy stuff was happening. That was ritual. That was ritual. That was ritual intentionally created to feed off of the energy of people. That was ritual intentionally created to feed off of fear and panic and desperation of a mass amount of people. Intentionally using herd mentality, which unless you are conscious, unless you have years of practice in consciousness, unless you have integrated some level of self-actualization into your life, you can't get out of herdthink. You can't. That's how you get out of herdthink, is you've integrated self-actualization into your life. Okay? It was intentionally created to feed off the energy of people. And I would argue Travis Scott was as much of a fucking pawn in the thing as everybody else was. Because Travis Scott is a player who's been pulled in to this bigger mass that who does Travis Scott have a baby with? It has been said in the spiritual community for a long time that the Kardashians are your spiritual teachers. And it's true because they have made something out of nothing. The way that they can manage and manipulate overall global culture. Kylie was made in a fucking lab. Made in a lab. Scapegoat. Jesse's right. Scapegoat. Travis Scott's the scapegoat. Which there is a whole group of highly educated sociologists, economists, racial theory scholars that have conversations about how the Kardashian family intentionally seeks out black males with what we call poor mental health and a lack of a strong familial support system and brings them into their situation and has children with them as a way of relating and connecting to black culture and using it as a doorway to claim and own cultures that is not their own. So what happened at AstroWorld was ritual to feed off of people. What is happening collectively right now is that so many people are waking up and waking up so intensely. The energy of the collective and what we're experiencing right now is so intense that under normal circumstances, people are struggling to stay in their bodies. It happened this last weekend. Someone who's a client, who's a mutual client of mine, who's doing something else that someone close to me was facilitated with, where they, post-Reiki attunements, were out of their body and struggled very hard to come back into their body. And something I helped and worked with them this weekend was like, you have to have reason to want to be here and be human. You have to have reason to want to be here and to exist in this life. How many fucking people, especially Gen Z, are functioning on this like, oh, just unalive myself. This is fucking heroin. They're like, no, that's not what it means. That's what that means. Even if you've like reorganized like this is heroin. This is shoot me up. Heroin is the drug that is easiest to kick you out of your body. Heroin and meth kick you straight out of your fucking body. That's the point of it. That's the point. So this space was created for an energy of people who already don't want to be here and don't want to be human and have such a lack of hope because they're looking around and going like, where's our future? And then I just want to be here and I'm desperate for connection to music. And then you're put into a situation to create fear where they then fed off. Of course, people died because they bailed out of their bodies. They didn't even have to have anything happen to them. They just bail out of their fucking bodies and they're gone. I've had experiences with people where I have had to physically pull someone's consciousness back into their body so they didn't die. For no other reason than they had too intense of an energetic experience than they had practiced an experience in. Breathe. So what happened this last weekend, the reason things feel so dark and so intense and so heavy and so potent is because there was ritual that occurred. And like Satan is such a simplified version. It was just fear, which by the way, the reason I don't use the word pandemic, I just say 2020 because the word pandemic means pan, people, demic, or pan is panic, demic is people. Panic people is what the word means. Collectively, the they is what we're calling them these days instead of the man. The they has been feeding off of fear this whole fucking time. And it's been profitable and it's made sense, right? So, how do you support yourself in this? A, know that a trigger of a bubble of dark and fear that big that is then filtering out through social media right now. How do you combat this? You come back to your own ritual. Ritual is what makes us human and conscious and connected. It's what takes us from animal to human is ritual. Is rituals on how we engage and interact with each other. Is ritual religion, Christianity took the connection that was ritual and the connection to source, right? If you go back to, Vikings were like gnarly and they're a very brutal, primitive, animalistic version of connection. They're like the saber-toothed tigers of fucking connection. Like religion is just appropriated connection where suddenly you were told to filter your connection through somebody else. Or you're told to filter your connection through an old fucking white guy. So how do you combat this? Is you come back to ritual. You come back to ritual with yourself. And if darkness is simply lack of light, then you turn on your own light. You turn on your own light. So it can be hard to turn on your own light when you feel like you are trapped in the dark. Okay? Those are everybody who's like, how do we get through this? You come to my class tomorrow. Like, I'm not saying this is the overall answer, but I had scheduled a class already for 11/11, and then it got reorganized to tomorrow night because got called to the desert by Aztec warriors, so I'm now going to New Mexico. I wasn't going to New Mexico like 3 days ago, and now I'm going to New Mexico this weekend. I bought tickets last night. So tomorrow there's a class where we're gonna like work through this stuff more in depth. But I want to finish explaining to you kind of like how this is manifesting for individuals personally, and then we're gonna tap through something really big coming up for us collectively as a way that this like fear is seeding in. Okay. And then tomorrow in the class, it's going to be 90 minutes and we're going to go in depth to some shit. And I'm going to teach you ritual on protecting yourself. Because here's the thing, you guys. The answer to all of this stuff is so fucking simple. It's so simple. It's so simple. And it's just a lack of education and awareness. And what I was saying on my other video before it got cut out is like, even if you want to live a 3D, mundane, muggle life, there are people in my life that things are coming up for them right now. Even if you want to live a 3D muggle life, that's fine. But Voldemort is back. And so you just need to be aware of what's happening and how to protect yourself. And we're gonna win. I'm like, in terms of what I can do energetically and astrally, like if Doctor Strange and the Scarlet Witch had a baby, that's who I am. Okay? And I have seen thousands of timeline options, and where I continuously hook myself back into is like shit's going real good. And like the powers of connection and the way people are coming together, and when you are like someone who like connects in and have been awake to this, like we've been training for this for lifetimes, and like the fear is unnecessary. The only thing the fear has for you is fear itself. Like that quote that like fear only functions on fear itself. It's true. We're winning. Voldemort may be back, and you need to know what's going on, and you need to know how to protect yourself as a muggle. Like, I don't think anybody here is a muggle, because you're in my space, but like, it's so simple. So, we're going to go into that really in depth tomorrow. It's only $33. It's available both virtually, and there's 3 more spots remaining locally in Idaho Falls if you are here, if you would like to come. How this is manifesting from collective of this like dark bubble of fear popping. It's at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time is when it is tomorrow night, and a recording will be going out after. Okay. Is that it is this bubble of fear has popped, and then that wave, okay, like a sound wave, sends out and activates any spots of beliefs and fear and subconscious shit that you have yet to work through that's within yourself, that then activates that fear thing. Then activates something to feed off of. Because when we are in fear, we are in a trauma response. Then we buy a bunch of shit. Ooh. Then we buy a bunch of shit. We panic and invest places. We seek to fill that hole outside of ourselves, which is what late stage capitalism runs on. It's why fear, it's why panic, people, is to the benefit of a system. The system is an entity just like everything else. The system is an entity just like everything else, and we are choking out a system that doesn't function anymore. And this is how you do it. So if there's a bubble of fear, it then connects into your own subconscious fear. It connects into your own subconscious fear. So that's why suddenly you're panicking and feeling scared and wanting to buy a bunch of shit. And like for me, what's coming up is money scarcity. Oh my God, so big. And it's like this thing that I'm like, I really worked through this. Like, I'm already done with this. Like, I've already handled this shit. Because at this point, darkness doesn't scare me anymore. Like, come at me, motherfucker. Like, not afraid of darkness anymore. And so for me, it's coming up as scarcity and money stuff. Okay? For a lot of people, Jesse, wanting to eat Halloween candy. Wanting to drink. That one's been coming up for me. Wanting to drink. Wanting to use drugs. The vibe. That's fucking heroin. Wanting to numb out, right? Religious. You have religious trauma even if you did not grow up religiously. The fact that it's being like, this is a satanic ritual, clicks into religious trauma, which is a special kind of unworthiness and disconnect, right? Because you can't trust your own intuition if you've got religious trauma, because you're supposed to filter your connection to source through some likely old white guy, right? Through this like written level of arbitrary rules and bullshit fucking dogma, where you like live in fear of the afterlife and whether or not you're going to be good enough to be accepted, versus just like living your life as heaven or hell right now, right? So how it's coming up for me is scarcity. And this fear thing hooks into your own subconscious fear. So people have been posting about like, oh, buying stuff at the thrift store, lack, unworthiness, disconnect. What is the thing that you are trying to soothe inside of you with that thing you're seeking externally? Okay. And how it's manifesting for me big time is scarcity, is money fears, is there's never going to be enough, is how am I going to pay, like, I got a bill for my recycling thing, which is just so interesting, right? They'll like, buy this stuff and then we're going to charge you in order to try and make it into something new, which most of it we can't actually make into something new, and we're just going to throw it away. It's just a different version of throwing away that makes you feel better. So I want to tap through scarcity stuff. And then tomorrow we're going to tap through fear and connection to your own light, and we're going to talk about ritual stuff, and how to connect in with yourself, and a lot of self-healing things. Scarcity is all about being not good enough. It's all about unworthiness, right? And underneath all of this, there is an awake part of this. Underneath all of like these bullshit beliefs and stories, ultimately is the question, there we go, am I bright enough? Am I enough light for this? Because you came here right now on fucking purpose. I'm not going to say everybody, because there's some people who, like, I've worked with and I'm like, oh, you did not end up where you were supposed to be. Like, tickets got crossed and shit got messed up. Like, you weren't supposed to be here where you were. But that's the anomaly. That you knew you were coming. You, like, came here knowing what you were getting into. Like, you've been training for this. Like, yeah, you came at this time, and ultimately underneath all of it is the question of, is my light bright enough? Do I have what it takes to be here for this? Do I have what it takes to be here right now? Like, I maybe made a fucking mistake. Oh God, I've said that one before. Like, I screwed up, y'all. Like, I don't want to get any of it. Of course you still get upset when you hear stories about religion, so maybe not. Oh, you know where I'm currently? How religion seeped into my marriage in regards to sex. I bailed out of a religion at 7, but then that was its own version of trauma. My husband bailed out of religion at 13, yet somehow we had conversations about ethical non-monogamy, and we're more comfortable, and it was easier and more easily seen to have conversations about dating and being with other people than it was to talk about our own sex life. And our sex life was, like, good. It was great. Like, it was connected and, like, safe and, like, consistently good. So, like, what was there to talk about? But the underlying thing behind why we weren't talking about it and why we weren't having the kind of sex we wanted to have, because we're both real slutty, was I can't ask my wife to do things because then she will think I can't treat my wife like a slut, and me not wanting my husband to think I'm a slut, which my husband has known me for 17 years. He knows I'm a slut. But it was religious shit. It was religious programming that neither of us even knew was there until we were like, wait a second, like, what? Like, we're, like, at this point, like, I'm into dating other people and we haven't had a conversation about our own sex life? Oh, religious trauma. Okay. There is going to be another tapping coming about religious trauma, specifically Catholicism, Catholic, because I have a mentee who, when you join my one-on-one mentorships, you get individualized tapping. And that's a big story for them as they grew up Catholic. And so how that relates to disconnect to their own gifts and their own stuff. The word slut, see, it's not real, right? And it's why we're like, oh, like, let's take slutty. Let's, like, own slutty. Let's, like, take it. So that's how this is manifesting for you. So the reason that you're feeling destabilized and afraid is because there was a big surge of that fear frequency that was not only intentionally created and fed off of, that functions out in waves, but then it partially is intentionally created to, like, have you hook into. Because, like, look at the Kardashian empire. It is built on unworthiness and obtaining something you will never ever be. Like I said, Kylie was built in a fucking lab. You can never naturally look like that. You have to. It's why the surge of lip fillers, which if you want lip fillers, that's fine and amazing. But why are you getting them? But why? It's okay if you want them. That's beautiful and amazing. But why? And what are the long-term ramifications of that? We don't even know. We have like 17, 18, 19-year-old kids injecting a whole bunch of lip filler in their face. Like, what does that look like 20 years from now? We have no fucking idea. See how it's all interconnected? So, I want to tap on scarcity because it's something that's been coming up for me. Total major fear, panic stuff. And I also want you to look at your life and where does it feel like suddenly things just like crumbled down to the ground? Because that's probably the pinpoint of, oh, that's where I'm hooking into this. So for me, suddenly financially, it was like, what just happened? And I'm being called to the desert adamantly by Aztec warriors. Like, hey, I need to go to New Mexico last night. And like that it was a total fear thing to book my ticket. And like paying for a ticket like somehow emptied our bank account. And my husband, I haven't spoken about this because I couldn't for a minute because there were some things settling. But Nick is home. Nick is home full time again. Nick is home! We cut his income to about 50% of what it was in order for that to happen. And so... I love you, Jessie. I love you. And so, like, however it suddenly looks like life is falling down around you right now is where your fear thing has hooked in and where that collective thing is hooked in. And it's just the darkness. It's just turning on the light. So we're going to start by doing some tapping on scarcity because that's going to make me feel better. So then I can go wash my hair in time to get ready to go to work. Go to work. Okay? Okay, so settling into body. There's also, it feels important to say that there's an also important intentional racial card played with Astrofest, and with our conditioning around like blackness and white supremacy. And it's also a way that I don't even like saying the word, like the empire, has intentionally like pulled and placed in black people in situations too. Like I said, Travis Scott was as much a pawn as anybody else was in that situation. So any questions? I'm gonna grab some water, you're gonna grab some water, and I would like any questions about any of this stuff to come through before we do some tapping. Yeah, okay, I'll be right back. I'm grabbing water, you grab water, and if you haven't tapped with me before, oh, I have water, look at me, I already took care of myself. I'm so smart. I'm so smart. So smart. If you have not tapped with me, tapping is a self-healing modality of willfully moving energy through your energy meridian points in your body to support your body in releasing, honestly, releasing epigenetic trauma and collective trauma, and supporting your body in writing healthier neural pathways. Okay? So let's just settle into body. Hi, Paige. Okay, so all you're going to do is do what I do and say what I say. Follow along. I'm going to do tapping. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Already processing some shit. I'm going to tap. You also have the option of doing pressure points if the tapping is something that is a sensory overload for you. Also, if there's any point that isn't accessible to you, you can just bypass it and connect into the other points. You can do one hand or two, and kind of the hand you do doesn't really matter. Basically, you can't really fuck this up. You're just like supporting your body and moving energy through, okay? So do what I do, say what I say. Even if what I speak to exactly specifically doesn't relate to your exact thing, there's a thing scientifically proven called borrowed benefits, meaning if you tap with a group of people and you tap through something else someone is tapping through, you do get the benefits of it. And I would argue so much of that is because you create like a collective energy frequency, which is the opposite side of the spectrum vibration wise of what happened at AstroWorld. So this is one of the ways we fix it. One of the ways that we shift it, right, is we show up collectively. We go, oh, like, no, I'm safe. Oh, no, we're safe to connect. We're safe to talk about what's actually happening. We're safe to be in our light. Of course I'm enough, because even if alone I'm just a single candle, you can light an entire church by multiple tea lights. Okay, so absolutely your light is enough, and without you, we may not be. So we need you. You matter. And you're important. And I need to spit because the body's processing. Last thing about tapping. Off-gassing. Off-gassing is your body's way of processing energy. Let's start tapping here on this karate chop point. Off-gassing is your body's way of processing energy. So burping, farting, spitting, laughing, crying, yawning, swaying. I have a client who laughs hysterically when we're processing through things. We can process through like gnarly heavy trauma. They just like laugh hysterically the whole time. It's great. It's their body's way of off-gassing. So there is a giant hawk that just flew by us. Hi, Medicine. Nice to see you. I'm glad you're here. Okay. So I want you to tap in as we're just tapping here on this karate chop point. I know that you're safe in this moment, and we're safe to dig into this stuff. Okay. The last few days, so you just repeat after me. Do what I do and say what I say. The last few days have felt really heavy. For me, the last few days have felt really scary. It was like suddenly just this like fear inside of me could just like roar its head up in a way that I've felt and wondered if anything has ever been okay. If I've ever felt anything but this way. And I don't like feeling this way. And it makes my chest feel tight. And it makes my stomach hurt. And it makes my head ache. And it makes it hard to talk to people. And it makes it hard to do anything. And I've just been feeling so much fear lately. Breathe. You're okay. Promise I'm going to bring you back down. Hi, Haley. You can jump on in. Even though I've been feeling this way, I love myself unconditionally. I accept myself deeply and completely. And I forgive myself relentlessly for questioning my sanity. Shake it out. Okay, this is going to feel really uncomfortable, but I want you to just sit and check in a body right now. I promise I'm going to help you move through this. You're okay. The one person who's like, I'm going to have a panic attack. No, you're not. Just be in your body. It's just energy. Let go of the definition of a panic attack. It's just fucking energy. You're going to move it. You're fine. There we go. Okay. I want you to check in 0 to 10 how you're feeling right now. 10 being best day of your life. 10 being I want to die. How are you feeling? 10 being best day of your life. 0 being I want to die. Rate yourself right now. You can add it below if you would like. Or you could just keep going. I'm honestly at a 4. I'm not great today. So 5's neutral. 5's I'm fucking indifferent, whatever. I'm at a 4. Okay? So just check in with that number so that we have something to rate you on the other side. Coming in at the top of your head. Just breathe. So much fear has come up lately. The last few days, it's like my life got really scary. And I wondered if anything was ever okay. And I don't like feeling this way. And I don't know where it came from. Yeah, there was some stuff and concerns for before. But the last few days, so we're at our points of our rib cage here, and we're going to go side of our rib cage. The last few days has gotten dark, man. And I've been so confused by it. Okay, so now we're going in on our first knuckle over thumb. Even though I've been feeling this way, first knuckle, I am willing to love myself anyway. Right now, in this moment, I'm willing to accept these feelings and forgive myself for being mad at them because they're just feelings. Shanté just explained what happened collectively with AstroWorld and how it was a lot of fear. A lot of fear intentionally created and manifested so that it could be fed on, and how then that hooked into me to bring up the things that have been hiding. With that perspective, I'm grateful these feelings are coming up to be seen and moved through. Things I know for sure, that even if you don't, you can trust me. Feelings are just energy and frequency. Feelings are just energy and frequency with a story. The story I've been telling is pretty scary. The story coming up for me is something that's been scary in my life. Story about lack of money, not being able to pay for things, and buy food, and take care of my family. A story about all this scary religious stuff I was told that a long time ago I thought I stopped believing in. But then they're talking about Satan rituals and scary stuff. And it makes me afraid that, like, I left the thing that was true. And maybe I was wrong to leave in the first place. And that it actually was the answer. It's been coming up for me in a lot of ways. But fear around scarcity and money, Angel, you can jump on in. And religion and being saved are two really big ones coming up. Breathe. Because they're coming up for all of us. And I don't like feeling this way. But I'm still accepting myself. I'm still going to love myself. Because I am not a feeling. And I am not a story. I am light. I can already love myself because I am love. I can accept myself because on the other side of this energy and story, I know I am safe. I can begin to believe I'm being supported. And what 2020 showed us is that the energy we're connected into, the frequency, aka the feeling and story we are choosing, is the version of reality we are living. When people talk about quantum leaping and your highest timeline and what you're aligning to, it's just all about your feelings and the story you're telling. A lot of stories have been stored and live in our DNA, which creates a feeling that might not even be mine. This story about religion and fear is not mine. And in this moment, I am so fucking ready. I've got to process and release it. I let go of this story about religious fear and panic and needing to source my connection to the universe, God, the divine, whatever I want to call it. I am in direct connection to that. My intuition is a direct line to divine guidance. And this fear that something outside of me, that an organization that constantly makes me afraid is my connection, is not my fucking story. I am releasing and writing something new where I am safe, I am supported, I am trusting in my own internal guidance, and I am moving through these old stories in a way that supports me to write new things. I love myself unconditionally. I accept myself deeply and completely. Forgive myself for those old stories. And I love the new thing that I'm writing. In this moment, I am breathing easier. I have let go of that bullshit that is not serving me. And I am trusting myself. to move through and bring light to this dark story. The other big thing coming up is about money. Is about having to fight and struggle and hustle in order to have enough money to be okay. And really questioning whether or not I do have to sell parts of my life and freedom in order to be financially safe and okay. Ooh. Wow. I didn't know that's what was there for me. I question and fear a lot about external resources and money right now. And I feel like there's never going to be enough. I feel like that I'm never going to be enough. And that the medical bills, the dental shit, and that the gas, and the utilities, and the rent, and all of it is always going to be more than I can bring in, because I'm just destined for struggle and hardship. That even if I want a lot of money, I'm destined for struggle and hustle and hardship. Ooh, I don't like that. I do not like that belief. No, thank you. I am rewriting that coding. Even though I've been feeling and believing this way, I love myself unconditionally. I accept myself for that story, and I forgive myself wholeheartedly for aligning to that bullshit narrative that was given to me. Just like the AstroWorld example is another way of this big thing feeding off of my energy. What I have learned and what I know to be true is that all of my needs are taken care of when I trust and believe that I'm supported and things are flowing to me. I love myself unconditionally. I accept myself deeply and completely. I forgive that old story. And today I'm writing a new one. In this story that I've been working on for so long, things flow to me divinely and easily. I can trust that my needs are met. I can trust in my own intuitive guidance and alignment. I am safe. Oh, someone doesn't trust that yet. I am ready and willing to begin living as though I trust my own intuition and guidance and following it as though that were the case. I choose to believe that I am safe in trusting myself, following my intuition. I choose to believe that I am safe and supported, and that money and resources and abundance flows to me in easy, beautiful, fun, exciting ways. I am not playing the Matrix game anymore. I am connecting into something so much greater. And in doing that, things flow to me. Connections, resources, inspiration, money, energy. It all flows to me beautifully and easily. Okay, we're coming to the end. I understood at the beginning of this why I was feeling so afraid. That it was something external to me, pulling out just some fear and darkness I had inside of me. I'm grateful for this awareness. I'm grateful for this experience. Because it's giving me the opportunity to turn on more of my light. To love myself more. To trust myself more. To connect in with the divine. And move through some feelings and energy. Thank you to the divine for supporting me, interacting on my behalf, for my life to continue to flow beautifully and easily. I am safe. I am supported. I am seen. I am free. And so it is. Amen. Aho. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Breathe. Connect into body. How we doing? God, I'm feeling so much better. Checking back in where you're feeling on your number scale. 10 being best day of your life. 0 being you want to die. Where you be. I started at a 4. I'm like at a 7 now. Started at a 4. I'm at like a 7 now. I feel like I really need to wash my hair, but now that it's up in a bun again, I don't really want to. 7. Where'd you start? 5 to 7 now. Nice. And Janessa came in like more than halfway through. Nice. Started at a 4 and I'm at an 8. Yeah, yeah. Yes, 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 yes. This is me. That was hard. Good job. You can do hard things. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. It's this idea that like, if you take the hustler mentality of like hard work and discipline and work ethic and all of that, and you take that thing, that story that we've been given, and you direct that internally towards your own healing, that's what I mean by things flowing beautifully with ease. If you take that work ethic of fight and grit and hustle and struggle and you put it in, directed in your own healing, dude, external shit just like flows. Like a beautiful babbling little brook. We can take what we are given, and paradoxically what we are given, as much as it is at our disadvantage, as much as it doesn't work for us, it also is exactly what we need. Right? Like for my husband and I's relationship to be the best place it's ever been, we had to sit down and like very seriously say like, I don't want to do this anymore. And now we're like, oh God, that feels better. Okay. I'm proud of you for showing up. The willow that McWillow that butt. I don't know what that means. Do you want to talk a little bit more about why that was hard and how you're feeling? What are your number shifts from where you started? Class tomorrow night. Class at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. It is going to be virtual, so that is 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. It is a 90-minute class. It is only $33. It is a very affordable situation. And we're going to talk about ritual and connecting into your own light and self-healing stuff where you can become more resilient and more practiced and grounded when situations and circumstances like this come up. We're going to do some tapping on being connected and safe and worthy. We're going to talk about the brain science and neuroscience behind what I'm going to be teaching tomorrow in terms of the reticular activating system and how neural pathways and tapping works on rewriting your neural pathways. And then we're gonna also do some like bonus tapping on abundance and calling money and things in. So that's what's happening tomorrow night. There are, I think, 86 more tickets, 86 more spots. And you can sign up for that at my website. The link is in my bio, all of the places. Please also, if you are coming, will you invite people? It feels like a lot of who's coming to this next one are invites. And what I would ask from you is, in the same way if you were coming to an in-person class, that you each buy an individual ticket. If you are going to get together with a group of friends to do this, which I highly suggest you do, like a party with friends to do this, I'm going to ask in the same way that if you were to attend an in-person event and you would each buy your own ticket, that you each buy your own ticket. And I'm just going to put that out on the honor system. It just brought up religious triggers, says McWill, that butt. I was at a 7. I think I stayed the same, but it brought up religious triggers. Go and journal and write about what your specific religious triggers are to find the root of that story. What I posted about shame today, the same thing with triggers is we can be triggered and then we're just like, I'm just triggered. Like, that shit is coming up to be seen. I am not the trigger warning human. I'm here to trigger you. Your trigger, it can only even come up as a trigger if it's ready to be healed. If it wasn't ready to be healed, it'd still be dissociated. And that's fucking tea on that. I love you guys. I'm gonna go maybe not wash my hair again. I think we're at day 8, day 9. I don't know. We'll see how I feel. Do I want to put on makeup or do I want to wash my hair? I don't know. I'll see you guys in class tomorrow. There are 3 more spots in person. If you would like one of those in-person spots, please send me a individual message so you can get one of those and invite your friends. I love you. You're amazing and beautiful and worthy, and I'm proud of you, and you're needed, and your light is important. Reiki jar, November Reiki jar is also open. Burn that shit down is our November Reiki jar. And it got names put in first thing last night, and so they'll be put in again tonight. So be sure to sign up for Reiki jar if you're not for that as well. Thank you. We call it our foreskin hoodie because it's got foreskin on it. Foreskin hoodie. Okay. I love you. You're beautiful. You're amazing. Bye, babies.